Everyone was talking about it. A beautiful, educated young woman marrying a disabled man? That's a waste of a future. They called her crazy. They shook their heads at her, whispered behind her back, sent her long texts filled with concern. Some were even bold enough to say it to her face. "Sophia, don't do this. You're ruining your life." But Sophia didn't care. She had made her decision, and nothing, not the stares, not the rumors, not even the heartbroken tears of her mother, could make her turn around. Because for once in her life, she wasn't choosing what was easy. She was choosing what was real. Sophia was 27, brilliant, driven, a licensed pharmacist with a bright future. People admired her. She had job offers waiting, savings in the bank, dreams of owning her own clinic. She had done everything right until she fell in love with Daniel. He was 33, strong-willed, soft-spoken, a man whose voice carried wisdom and whose eyes held a quiet storm of memories, both beautiful and painful. But what people noticed first wasn't his kindness. It was his wheelchair. Daniel hadn't always lived this way. Years ago, he was a rising star in athletics. He ran with passion, mentored youth, lived like the world was his playground. Until that one stormy night, he was driving back home from a friend's house when a drunk driver swerved into his lane. The crash was brutal. He survived, but his spine did not. The doctors said it clearly. "You'll never walk again." His world fell apart. He went from running marathons to being bathed by nurses, from standing tall to watching life from a seated position, and from being someone people envied to someone they pitied. He retreated from the world, stopped answering calls, stopped smiling. He laughed only to hide the pain. And at night, when no one could see, he cried like a boy who had lost everything. And then came Sophia. She was assigned to the rehabilitation center as part of a volunteer program. She didn't want to go. She had argued with her supervisor, but she went anyway. On her first day, she saw him, under a large tree in the garden, always in the same spot, reading, alone, unbothered, untouched by the noise of the world. Sophia greeted him. He didn't answer. She tried again the next day. Still nothing. But something about him called her back. Maybe it was the way he seemed peaceful, yet trapped. Maybe it was the quiet sorrow he tried to hide behind that unreadable gaze. One afternoon, Sophia walked over, sat beside him, and whispered, "You don't have to talk, but I'm not going anywhere." She meant it. Day after day, she sat beside him, some days in silence, other days reading aloud. Eventually, the silence broke. A nod, a smile, a short answer, then a question. And slowly, a friendship was born. She discovered that Daniel was a poet, that he once wrote short stories, that he still dreamed of publishing a book, that he loved jazz, that he missed running, but not as much as he missed dancing. And he discovered that Sophia was more than a pharmacist. She was a woman with fire in her heart and softness in her soul. She wasn't scared of pain. She leaned into it. Sophia found herself falling, not for the chair, not for the broken body, but for the man who had learned to rebuild himself in silence. And Daniel? He tried to push her away. "You deserve someone who can stand beside you," he said. "Someone who can lift you, not someone who slows you down." But Sophia didn't see him as a burden. She saw him as home. "You're more of a man sitting in that chair than any man I've ever met standing tall," she whispered once. He cried that day, and that was the beginning. They started dating, quietly, discreetly, not because they were ashamed, but because they didn't want noise. They just wanted each other. But love, true love, cannot be hidden forever. When Sophia told her parents, the world exploded. Her mother collapsed into a chair. Her father accused her of seeking attention. Her cousins called secret meetings. Her friends stopped answering her texts. Even her church group turned their backs. "You will suffer," they said. "You're being emotional, not wise. You're throwing away your life for a man who can't even walk." Sophia didn't shout. She didn't fight. She just said softly, "I'm choosing love. A love that listens. A love that never makes me feel small." Weeks passed. The pressure didn't stop, but neither did Sophia's love. And so they planned the wedding. Small, intimate. Just the few who believed in their love, or had learned to stay silent. The night before the wedding, Sophia's mother came into her room. She didn't yell this time. She just asked, "You could have had anyone. Why him?" Sophia looked at her, calm, certain. "Because he never made me feel like I had to be anyone else to be loved." The next morning, Sophia put on her white dress. Simple, elegant. Her hands trembled, but her heart was steady. At the venue, Daniel was already waiting, dressed in a cream-colored suit, hair freshly cut, a cane beside his wheelchair, not for walking, but for symbolism. As Sophia stepped into the room, a hush fell. She was radiant. She didn't look left or right. She only looked at him. Tears filled Daniel's eyes. And then, the impossible happened. Daniel gripped the arms of his wheelchair and stood up. Gasps swept across the room. Sophia stopped. Daniel took a step, then another, then a third. His body trembled, but his will didn't. He walked to meet her. The crowd froze. Sophia covered her mouth, weeping. Daniel whispered, "I wanted to stand for you. Even just for today, even if I fall tomorrow. You gave me something worth rising for." Sophia threw herself into his arms and burst into tears. Later, they would explain that he had secretly been undergoing intense therapy. That he didn't want Sophia to know, in case it never worked. He didn't want to give false hope. But that day, he wanted to surprise her, to show her that he hadn't given up. That he wanted to meet her at the altar like any other groom would. They held each other for a long time. And then, they said their vows. That night, the whispers changed. No more pity, no more judgment. And those same people who once whispered behind her back now stood and clapped in awe. They saw love that didn't depend on legs or status or approval. They saw the power of two hearts that refused to let the world define them. Today, Sophia and Daniel run a foundation together. They speak in schools, churches, and hospitals. They build clinics. They share their story. They remind people that love isn't what you see. It's what you carry. And when people ask Sophia if she regrets her choice, she smiles, touches her ring, looks at Daniel, and says, "I didn't marry a man in a wheelchair. I married a miracle who chose to rise for me." If this story moved you, take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who still believes in love that defies all odds. At One World Narratives, we share stories that connect hearts across borders. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.